All right, so this is Brandon duetting the video. Now, for everyone aware, let's just play back real quick. Here we go.
Yeah.
For this sauce. I know it's controversial and some people will think it's burnt, but I've done this technique before and it was in a 3 Michelin star restaurant. And the thing is like, you have to be a trained professional to pull this off. This is an ash sauce. I know exactly what he's doing. It's going to have a flavor profile of the spices and the vegetables that he uses, but it's a common technique in fine dining to change the color of a sauce. And believe me, when I tell you, it doesn't taste like it looks. And I think this technique is really awesome. They have a lot of cool techniques on the Granda app. You should go check it out. I'm going to tag them below. It's so worth it. I mean, look how cool that looks. And trust me, it doesn't taste burnt.
It doesn't taste burnt. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Are you getting comments on burnt already?
Oh, no, not yet, but I haven't looked. But you know, it's funny because I gotta be honest, man. Granda is like my favorite sponsor. I swear to God, I'll make videos for them.
I was
for
just
free.
about to say, yo, you're already like launching into that Granda shit. Yo, that's what's up.
Well,
bro.
here's the honest truth, man. There are like some sponsorship videos like I'll do and I'll just do them like okay, but like I actually wanted to work with Granda since day one. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that they reached out to me, like he reached out to me and said, "Hey, we really like your channel, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Damn, I will make videos for you for free." Because one, I really like the app. I think the app is like I'm a yearly subscriber, KC, and like the thing is like I already bought the app before they reached out, so I actually use this product because I think what's really cool is, and tell me if you agree here. For chefs, like this is an app. It's okay for everybody that's listening. This is an encyclopedia of all the chefs around the world, Michelin level, low level. It doesn't matter. What they do is they post their recipes and their techniques with the video along on this app. And like way back in the day, 10 years ago, we didn't have this. 5 years ago, we didn't have this. And I think it's such a good tool. A good example of that is like if I'm looking for new creative ideas, dude, I open this app and I look in. And, there's so many cool techniques and things from other chefs. So that's why I really like working with them because this is specifically for chefs. It's not for anything else. You know what I mean? It's not like this is not your average home cook deal. This is a app for professionals. You can also pull it off at the house, but just saying, I think it's worth it if you're a young culinarian. But I'm so happy to be able to partner with them. It's like, for real, it's awesome. But I want to talk about this sauce because, dude, I know the first time I saw this sauce, I was like, what the hell is that? Dude, I remember. So let me take everybody back. So I was working at the Breakers Resort, West Palm Beach, 2009. This was in their fine dining restaurant called L'Escalier. Okay. And the chef who was just starting, he just did a tasting. And basically I saw him, I sat there and I watched him char eggplants on the stovetop, right? So on the stovetop, literally flame, and he left it. I'm like, hey chef, you want me to flip these for you? He's like, don't touch it. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Burning it, straight burnt, like black. I'm like, black. Usually you roast them. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because like I literally watch him until they're fully tender. He cooks them until they're fully tender. I'm talking black on the outside, Casey, like black, like burnt.
I know.
Then he takes it and he throws it right in the blender, the whole eggplant, minus the stem. And I'm like, what is this guy? How the freak does he think he's gonna get a job?
Like, what the fuck?
How the hell? Yeah. There's no way he's gonna get a job here burning this eggplant like this. Anyway, so I'm not gonna lie, the curious young cook that I was, because obviously he added some other stuff to it. So he added roasted garlic and onion and aromatics, but the eggplant puree was pitch black, like black, like the bars above the screen. And I was like, dude, there's no way this tastes good. And it's crazy because after he did his tasting, he went out to go talk to the chef and the food and beverage manager. And I just walked by and I stuck my finger in there and just tasted it, right? And I was blown away at how delicious it was. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't taste charred at all. All you taste is a little smokiness.
Yeah.
And what I realized in that moment was like, oh shit, like this is an actual technique. And I asked him about it and he's like, this is what you do. And basically you bring the skin. So basically, as the skin cooks, basically what happens is it gets roasted, just soft, charred, but then you take it to another step and it's completely incinerated, right? Like completely charcoalized, right? And I think what's really important is to take in consideration that doesn't give off a flavor profile, so to speak. What it does is it will leave a like kind of like sandy taste if you don't strain it out properly. But like I was just blown away by this technique. So So this dish went on the menu with the fish dish, but then I also saw it again when I was at Alinea, and we did a bichotan course with ash, and the
Nice.
halibut was covered in dust, like charcoal
Mm-hmm.
dust, but from vegetables. And I was like, damn, this is such a good technique, but not a lot of people. It's so misunderstood. Now,
Very.
so it's funny because I see, especially in Mexican cuisine, like this video here, where
Mm-hmm.
they will blacken the chilies. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
black. And then if you noticed in the video, which I thought was really unique, is he made like a black tea out of the burnt peppers, and then he used that
Mm-hmm.
to create the sauce. But I know people are gonna freak out. I can't wait to go read the comments.
I don't think they're gonna freak out. But like, it's like, you know how, because I do a similar preparation on my black garlic, right? It's not black garlic. I fucking know it, but I'm going for the black, charcoaly, acidic kind of note that's you can't naturally get on anything else. Garlic is like the perfect vessel for it, in my opinion. I've done it with
Yeah.
red peppers, but it's still too sweet for me, and I want to add the sweetness. I don't want it to just be sweet. And if you try like chiles, then you're messing with a little bit more heat, and I want to add the heat. I don't want it to be there already. But
Yeah.
I approve of this 100%. So I actually
Yeah.
have a couple of people on my channel comment on yours and tag me on it. I'm like, yeah, see, right there.
Yeah,
This is
that's funny.
this is some higher cuisine right now. I'm all for it. I'm all about it.
Yeah, and I
Question to
think
you
what's
though.
really cool is in some. I think I saw one comment, and I'm gonna respond because this is gonna be a good one, and I'm gonna clout chase this one. But I think the thing is like I think, and I hate to say this because I'm American. I love being American. I'm proud to be American, but we just don't like caramelization on like
Yeah.
foods. You know what I'm saying? So like a good example is when I posted that biscuit video. Everybody's like, "Oh my god, it's burnt," and I'm like, "Dude, you're crazy. This is perfect." And
Yeah.
you can honestly admit, like, if you go to Paris or Europe, their pastries are darker than us in
Yep.
America. You know what I'm saying? And like
100%.
people are used to like the Pillsbury Doughboy, freaking blonde brownie. Like it's just, and I just hate to say it like that, but like here's a good example: is like when we started a bread program at the restaurant I worked at. The chef used to take it to 205 degrees, where
Mm-hmm.
and how am I to question this chef who was the pastry? He was the executive pastry chef for the Robuchon group. Okay, for
Yeah.
yeah. Like he's like, dude, legit. And it's crazy because that was the first time where he was telling me the color that you want on the bread, and he's
Mm-hmm.
like, it needs to look a little bit darker than you. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, chef. And then I never ever, let that slip out of my head. So basically, every time I'm cooking, whether it's a sourdough or whether it's a French baguette, I always take it a little bit longer than I would usually to get that color. Yeah.
I'm for it. But like I think the question is, and I wanted to get your opinion on it too. Like I think Americans just can't put it together. We eat barbecue
Yeah.
here like a motherfucker. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That's burnt. That's literally it's the same process, and it's pitch black.
Oh my god! You
people
know
are
what? I
like-
never thought about that.
And they're like, "Oh my god, it's barbecue. You smoke." I'm like, "Bitch, it's the same thing, but in
Yeah.
sauce form." You know what I'm saying?
You know what?
So
Yeah, like a brisket. Yeah, like a brisket. Hey,
Like
you know
a
what?
brisket.
I never thought like that is actually a really good point. To be honest,
Same thing.
Like when I cooked my brisket, it was just salt and pepper, but it was black on the outside, and but it was
Yep.
absolutely delicious. And there's a taste associated with that. But the biggest thing that I've seen of when I've created this before is everybody. This happened in Los Angeles, and it was like I had two cooks say, "Oh my god, but chef, this is going to cause cancer." And I'm like, listen, man, you can walk down the street and get cancer, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are so many like that is the least of my concerns. But I think, and tell me, and this is what I wanted to come back to, you have to be a trained professional to pull this off.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it can't be just
like
a normal.
this is an advanced technique that I will agree. Like I have tried to have cooks recreate it, and it doesn't come out correct. Right? I've given them proper measurements, but you as the chef have to gauge you have to like play the balance of the sweet, salty, savory, smoky, texture. And like the thing is it's just not a sauce that you can just say, okay, 1 cup of this, 2 cloves of roasted garlic, 1 onion
Yeah.
chopped, caramelized. No. Like if you could tell in that recipe when the video that I do edit, the chef is not measuring. He is going by taste. And
Going by taste.
there were so many different layers in that video. I mean, he started by roasting the spices, then grinding them in the molcajete, then grinding the garlic, the black paste, the onions, and then he's adding sauce. Then he's adding, and then like you could tell he added some thickener towards the end and something to make it glossy. But I think that's also important to note. Like if you're just a regular old home cook, there's nothing wrong with that. But like I wouldn't attempt to make this at the house without some professional guidance, right?
Yeah. This is where the experience shines. Like if you and I were to make it, because there's a different palette to it. Like there's where you want it, and then there's where we would definitely take it, and that's what people I think that's missing in that preparation. It's not for the faint of heart, in my opinion. It really isn't. Because like if you will just go out of your brain. You're like, I have to take this where? How is it supposed to taste? That's where it gets funny.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I've seen a lot like I don't know, I don't want to sound negative either, but I've seen a lot of cooks at the house like trying to pull off techniques that are a little too advanced for them. And what I strongly urge, and I urge this to everybody, like before you do like the molecular cuisine, or before you like try to cook sous vide, or before you try to do advanced techniques, I think it's really important to learn the basics first, the fundamentals.
Yeah.
What to look for. Like I can't explain it enough, man. Like when I remember working at Hotel Valera and I would do some advanced shit, right? Like, and it would just be me and the sous chefs prepping it out. And I remember the cook saying, "Oh, I want to learn how to do this." And I'm like, "Listen, before you even touch nitrogen, you need to learn how to make ice cream first. Like, I want you to go make a creme anglaise, turn it into ice cream, and then give me 1 scoop on a plate. Like, you need to know this technique, right? Like, you need to know how to make a proper sorbet without using a refractometer, or without using, sorbet stabilizer. Like,
Which is very difficult, by the way, for everyone aware. That's really difficult to achieve.
Yeah, like in all honesty, like here while we're talking about like with sorbet, especially with ripe fruit sorbet, I think what's really important is you have to measure the sugar. Then you'll know exactly if it freezes or not, right? And
100%.
That's in between 16 and 18 bricks that it'll be a nice consistency. If anything above that, it's not going to freeze. Anything below, it's going to be too icy because of the water content. And so this is so important. I try to tell people like, especially young cooks, like you need to learn how to do the basics and the fundamentals first before you dive into advanced techniques. Like if you don't know how to make a proper marinara sauce or a proper demi-glace or chicken stock, you have no right making this ash sauce. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you agree with that? Like,
I agree.
I hate to sound like that, but it's like, the thing is like, I think it's really important. And a lot of cooks don't want to take in consideration or realize that it's all about fundamentals first. It's all about foundation. It's about building your house. You can't just take 2x4s and put them up and call it a good structure. You have to build a foundation. You have to build a concrete foundation. And this is the same applies to cooking, man, because I see so many cooks that want to learn the advanced technique and want to learn how to cook sous vide and like, and do all of these, this crazy shit. And I'm like, listen, don't do it, man. Like you need to learn, like here's a prime example. I used to make these transparent potato chips for the salmon dish, right? And it's funny because shout out to Michael Liger. He just posted it on his TikTok, and like I was like, I'm so amped up for him, but I could tell that he's inexperienced and that he's never done that technique before.
Correct.
And here's the thing, I dabbled with that technique a lot. So basically, here's the technique for everybody that's listening: is you take potato stock essentially and you mix it with potato starch, then you dehydrate it and you fry it. And I could tell by the way he did it that he literally just had no idea what he's doing, because here's the thing, that potato chip doesn't taste like anything. So what I learned and what I taught my cooks, because I served it with the salmon dish, is basically you have to roast the potatoes first, roast them hard in the oven. Then you pour water over them and you make like a potato tea, but by pouring hot water over these roasted potatoes, a little bit of salt. So you create a flavorful stock of potato that's kind of dark. Then from there, you strain it off, and then you add the potato starch. Then you dehy. But here's the thing. you instead of frying in fryer oil, you use clarified butter, and this brings it
Yeah.
to a different dimension. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the potato chip actually tastes delicious. You can taste the roasted potato. You can taste the butter from frying, and it's funny because here's where I took a technique that I learned from. I don't forgot where it came from. I forgot where it came from, but ideas in food or something like that. But from a chef, where I said, okay, this technique is really cool, but it doesn't taste like anything. It just tastes
Yeah.
like tastes
It's
bland,
air.
right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, so how do we make this delicious? And that's how we make it delicious. So it's funny because that's what separates the home cook from the chef. And I think that's really important. But I remember specifically, and what I wanted to come back to is I remember my one of my garde cooks was like, "Hey chef, you got to teach me how to do this. You got to teach me how to do this, man. This is so cool." I'm like, "Hey, listen to me. Look at me in the eyes, okay? Go make me some potato chips right now. Go grab a potato, and make me some potato chips." And guess
Yeah.
what? They couldn't do
Couldn't
it.
do it. Yeah.
You know why?
That's where it's
You know
tough.
why? Because they don't they this is a foundational technique. If you ask a cook to go make potato chips, they should know how to fucking make potato chips.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, as a chef, I always made sure, okay, what's the basic technique first, then the advanced technique. Because you're not going to know how to do the advanced technique properly without doing the basic technique properly. So
Mm-hmm.
what did he do? He didn't rinse the potatoes. But he didn't even peel the potatoes. Okay, I'll let that slide. The fryer oil was too high, right? There is a way to fry potato chips where they're absolutely delicious, and then there's a way to fuck it
Mm-hmm.
up. And listen, we all know there's a lot of chances to fail when you're making potato chips, right? So
Yeah.
one, you not rinse off the starch, right? Then you're fucked, right? If you don't rinse off the starch from potato chips, you're kind
It'll
of
be just
screwed.
gummy.
Yeah, they'll be gummy and they won't get like they'll just be too starchy.
Yeah.
Then if you add too many potatoes to the fryer at the same time, if the fryer oil is too high, the oil could spill over if you add too many one shot, right? You could bring
Mm-hmm.
the temperature down of the oil. So there's a proper way to do it. You have to put in a few chips at a time, right? You can't just throw in a whole handful filled with water, right? It's like there is a proper technique. You season right when it comes out of the fryer. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, there's like you can go down the rabbit hole of making sure the potato chip is perfect. Now,
Yeah.
that comes before learning the advanced potato chip technique. And
Yeah.
I'll die on that hill, man, because like I can't even lie. Like I'm gonna post this duet video. I was not gonna post it yet, but I really do because Casey, when I was growing up as a chef, I worked in a diner for the first year of my culinary career, which was the
Mm-hmm.
worst mistake, but the biggest lesson, the life lesson. And I'll tell you why. It's because I learned so many bad techniques and bad
Yeah.
fucking procedures, man. Just common
Yeah. Bad
practices. Like,
habits.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so now I feel like it's my due diligence to give the young chefs out there, no, this is not how you do it. So here's a
Yeah.
few bad habits that I learned that I learned when I was just a young cook that I took over into the professional world, and I got hammered for it. Wiping your hands on your apron, wiping your hands on the apron. Listen, I was taught this. I'm talking like I would prep something and then boom, wipe my hands on my apron.
And then you
Like
go like
it was
this. Yeah. Oh my
or,
god.
or on my chef jacket. Didn't understand the reason
Ticks
why.
me
Like
off.
I would just follow. I would mimic what the other cooks were doing. Dude, like not wiping down my station, like wiping things on the floor. Not working clean and organized. Like these were things that I
Mm-hmm.
learned working as a short order cook when I was 14 years old. And I would ask, like, hey, is this how you do this? Okay, great. And I didn't know any better. You know what I'm saying? So I
Mm-hmm.
just did what I was told. But then it's crazy because then I worked at Macaroni Grill, and believe it or not, they actually do have some standards. And I remember the chef was like, "Hey, you always heat up the pan before you put anything in there. You heat it up." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Well, what are you talking about? Well, why do you heat it up?" Well, I didn't know this, but at the diner, the freaking guy was, he was just being lazy, right? So he would literally take take chicken. I'm using chicken as an example. Take a raw chicken
Mm-hmm.
breast from the fridge, put it into the saute pan, put it on the flame, and then
And
once
just
it
let it
started to
go.
heat up, put it right in the oven. Right? This is not how you do shit. Didn't even season it. Didn't you? This is not how you do it. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
I learned that. I learned that the hard way at American Grill. I got made fun of, whatever. And it continued like this for about 2 to 3 years until finally I was with a chef that was actually reputable, right? And
Uh,
he literally taught me everything from start to finish, the basics. And that's why I think it's really important for people like chefs like me and you to like, hey, no, this is okay. You can do it this way, but here's the correct way, right? Here,
yeah.
like hey, this is how you make this, but there's also other ways to make it. And it just goes back to this video. And I think a lot of people, and I know, and this is coming from your video as well, the black garlic video, where people just don't understand, man. Like,
Yep, 100%.
like I saw that, and I'm like, yeah,
I was banking on it.
I know, and it's unfortunate because people are trying to comment and they can't have an educated conversation with you about the topic, because guess what? They have no, like, they're just not educated in Asian cuisine or Japanese cuisine or the ramen noodles. Like, yo, there was a time in my life where ramen noodles were at the forefront of my fucking like passion. You know what I'm saying? Like ramen noodle, like, dude, I was so obsessed when I was living in LA, and people were like, hey, what's your favorite ramen? I'm like, dude, you can't ask me that shit. Like, do you want handmade noodles? Do you want tonkatsu? Do you want miso? Like, there is different people that specialize in different things. You know what I'm saying? And this, like, if you want a are you looking for ambiance? Are you looking for, you know what I mean? Like, are you looking for like Japanese speaking only? Like, dude, don't play with me. And hey, you know what? The same thing goes for tacos. There was a part of my life where like tacos were at the fore. I love
tacos though.
Yeah,
oh my
but
god.
When you're in Los Angeles, it feels like you're in Mexico though, for real, straight up. Like when you're in LA, like I will argue that I think LA has the best tacos in the United States. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, I 100% agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, like I had tacos here in San Francisco, and I'm like, listen, nobody does it better. Like in Los Angeles, man, they got these street carts that just fucking crush it, dude. Like, but anyway, it's funny because I think still to this day, the best taco that I had was in East Los Angeles. I don't know what the place was named, but I remember I had just got to LA, and my wife was pregnant at this time, and we were driving around, and it was so funny because it was a little street cart, and Abuelita was making the tortillas. She had her station, and she would pass the warm tortillas over to whoever was next. And so I'm trying to order the tacos, and like handmade tortillas, and it was a street cart. And let me tell you something, man. He passed me the tacos as he was making them. You know what I'm saying? You don't get them on a plate. Yeah. So basically, the thing is you eat them as he hands them to you, and that's how he was doing it. So you just keep on getting in line, right? Like you say, hey, let me get tres tacos de lengua, right? Like, and basically he would make them and he'd pass them to you. And I didn't have a plate or anything. It was just like on a piece of parchment. It was crazy, but it was so delicious, and it was meant to be eaten in the moment. And I totally got it. But that's to this day still my favorite taco experience. And I had plenty of tacos, but what I was trying to get at was, you can't ask me what are my favorite tacos in Los Angeles, right? Because it's like, well, what are you looking for? There's three things that you need to specify. Are you looking for handmade tortillas? Because then I have a restaurant for that. If you're looking for the salsas, okay, great, I have a restaurant for that. If you're looking for the meat, because there's people that specialize in just grilled meat, or it's people that specialize in just, oh my God, I freaking just, the trompa, what is it? The tacos al pastor. And, and it's like, there's people that specialize in it. That's all they do is, and it's like, you can't just like pick out one of your favorite, but if like for all over consistency, it's like for somebody to have the best sauce, meat, and tortillas, it's not
You're not
really
gonna get it.
You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get it because like the thing is there's so many good tacos. Like you can get fresh made tortillas in Los Angeles, and fresh. And so it's not really worth it for people to do it, to set up a station and have one person, because you need one person on making tortillas,
just all day, literally just the tortillas.
And I respect the shit out of it, but I totally get it for the taco stands that don't want to do it, because it's like, it is kind of rough. But
no, 100% rough.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about ramen all day. That's what I'm gonna do, essentially. It's always
but nobody is educated enough to know the
one.
mayo sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad because it's like, fuck, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the same thing when I first learned it. This was back in Los Angeles, and the chef de cuisine at Spago is Japanese, right? And so basically, the first time I saw it, it was he made family meal for everybody, right? So we're eating ramen, and then he had the mayo sauce, right? And I didn't think twice. I just added it, right? Like, and it's funny because it was delicious. It was fucking delicious. And what people don't realize is the balance of the sauce, the noodles, the texture, the color, the roasted, the smoky, like everything plays a part, and it's not an uncommon sauce. And so, and it's funny because, me and my American people, I thought the same thing, Casey, until I learned. And when I watched him make it, and it was crazy. But It's all good, man. And I think what's really important is like it's good for us to create awareness of techniques like this. That's why I wanted to duet that video.
I got one more for you, Brandon, and I sent this over to you earlier, and this is more to
Boom.
tick you off and more anything. But however, we're gonna watch this video real quick.
Let's go. Let's get into it. I'm gonna create the duet. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay, it has too much salt. I got a hack for you. Take a potato or a soup like this, quarter it, throw it in the pot, top it up with a little bit of the stock that you use for the soup. Let that simmer for like 10 minutes or so. And just like that, the potato will help absorb all that extra salt. And in a few minutes, your soup is going to taste perfect. Now that's a hack.
Just like that. Just like that.
Oh my god.
Apparently, just like that. Just
bro.
It's gonna happen just like that.
Okay. Let me tell y'all something. Don't fucking do this, okay? Do not do this. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell. You know what? This is the problem, man. I don't know where this came from or who
Food
dude,
Network. That's where it comes from.
It doesn't make any sense. Think about it. Think about it, Casey. Think about it. But and honestly, it just kind of makes me mad because like the other one was actually a little bit more repulsive. Like at least this guy cut the potato, but like that potato's never gonna cook in 10 minutes. Think about
100%.
it. They ain't gonna cook, bro. To cook a potato, you need to be at 190, bro. Like you have to like. There's so many things, and the fact that he has a chef jacket on, and he's, bro.
That's what's more pissing off than anything. Like I think, it's. I have this thing, right? Do you think that they're only doing this because, when I say they, Food Network, because they need to produce content? So for them, they're taking like the tasty hacks, like because they do like the 5-minute bullshit hacks, and just like saying, hey, I think we can do this better with our folks. Let's slap on a chef jacket, and just mass produce it. That pisses me off to no end. Like it's just straight up. It's almost like it hurts my feelings. Like I worked for this damn title, and then on fucking TV they're just bastardizing it.
So listen, I'm totally with anybody can create whatever content they want, and I have no hate towards them. But what I'm saying is, if a cook were to walk into my kitchen and he oversalted a soup, and he put a fucking potato in there, dog, he's gone. He's gone.
He's going home.
Get the fuck out.
Bye.
And this is the problem. I see young cooks, they make this mistake. Like if you were to go, okay, here's the thing. And the problem is they don't understand because they believe it because it's the Food Network and the guy's wearing a chef jacket. And he's a good chef and blah, blah, blah. No, don't fucking do this. If you're in a restaurant and I said this on, I'll post this video. I do edit it. I do edit a video like this, and I was explaining this. So here's the corrective action. There is one way you can fix this. And that is to remake the soup, remake like a half batch. Then you take that half batch with no salt and you add it to that soup. But I wouldn't recommend that. There's another way you can fix it, and that's by remaking it. Start over.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's like,
Listen,
chef, I fucked up. Too
I
salty.
fucked up.
Okay.
Make the soup again.
Start over.
Your guests deserve better than that, and you have a higher standard than that. Now, if you're cooking at the house and you're cooking for your family and the soup is a little too salty, I totally get it, right? Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. But if you're in a restaurant environment, or if you're in a reputable restaurant, or whatever the case may be, and you're trying to salvage, a $10 soup, get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Remake it.
Yeah.
Remake it. Start over. It's that simple. And listen, I'll die on that hill because there are plenty of cooks out there that don't know the correct way to go about something. And listen, there have been many times I've oversalted something. Seriously, like I've added way too much salt, and it had to do with pasta all the time. Like, dude, I remember telling the saucier, like, hey, you know what I ended up doing, KC? Because we would sacrifice the whole fucking batch. I told him, I said, listen, don't add any more salt to the sauces. Don't add any more salt.
And it was just a test.
And the reason why I say that is because what I realized is you have zero control when the sauce is oversalted, right? So here's a good example. He would make tomato sauce, and the recipe had 1 cup of salt. It was for a 5-gallon batch. But then for this sauce, we would take it, we would make pizza sauce. We would make TBG, which is tomato, basil, garlic, where we would take garlic, saute it down with some chili flake, then add the marinara. But then what I realized, the final step, everything would be too salty when you taste the whole pasta. And it's from reducing that sauce back down and then the cook seasoning and then the cook. So here's the thing. I was like, okay, well, I need my cooks to learn how to season, but properly.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I was like, hey, don't add any salt to the chicken stock. Don't add any salt to the demi-glace. Don't add any salt to the marinara. You just make the sauce really good. And it changed the fucking game, because what cooks don't realize is like, you're only tasting one piece of the dish. You're not tasting the whole dish.
The whole thing. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
100%.
what happens is like, if you sit down and any chefs out there, any sous chefs, if you put a dish on the menu, listen, have somebody else cook it and you go in the dining room and you sit down and you taste the whole thing. You eat the whole fucking thing.
Yes.
Don't just, when you're walking past and you taste it on the line, I think it's different. It's a different experience when you sit down and taste your own food when somebody else makes it. But anyway, what I realized is the pastas were too salty, like, because the pasta water was salted. The sauce was seasoned, the cook seasoning it, the vegetables are seasoned, everything's seasoned. There's so many different layers, and it was so complicated. And it was crazy, because I was like, okay, hey, listen, this is what we're gonna do. When you for your pasta water for service, I'm like, dude, remove the salt. Just remove the salt. I want to test it. And what we realized is we played the game. So yes, we would have salted pasta water, but it was just a small amount. It wasn't like we realized that it was just way too underseasoned. So we would only season the pasta water just a little bit. And then what we ended up doing, because the thing is that the problem that we had was we had the pasta pot and we would just keep adding water to it. Bad idea.
And it just keeps,
it just keeps reducing, and it's no bueno. But I'll tell you what, the pasta machine, there's a pasta machine, where the water keeps constantly rotating, that has like six baskets. That's such a better, it's such a better way to do it. So if you have a ramen restaurant or a pasta restaurant, don't waste your time with the big ass rondo. Get a pasta machine that you can just, it constantly rotates the water, because then
$13,000, by the way.
It's, oh, come on, man. If you know, you can get it. You can get it for $8.5, bro. Come on. You can get it for $8.5, dog. You can get it for $8.5.
It's on my list.
Yeah. But and so then we realized that, and then so it was this whole process of like, you would think there wasn't so many layers to a spaghetti dish, but it was like, there is, and whether it's a tomato based garlic spaghetti or whether it's a pasta bolognese, there is a point where it's all about care. It's about the different steps. So there are so many people, and this is what's really important for all you chefs out there. There is so many people that have their hands on this one dish, and then the cook is the one who finishes this dish. So you have the cook blanching the pasta, but you have the saucier making the bolognese, and then you have somebody else grating the cheese or finishing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many different steps that need to happen. You have to make sure they all come in to where the guest at the end gets the best result possible. And I'll tell you what, man, not salting the marinara sauce made a huge difference, because what happened was the cooks were using less. You know what I'm saying? They were using less because there was a cup of salt in the fucking thing, right? So it's like, you go to taste it, and yes, it tastes seasoned by itself. But when you add that to a dish, dude, you run the risk. And so it's funny, because like, I think this is really important for young chefs and chefs at restaurants, is to taste the whole dish. Pretend you're the guest. If you come up with the dish, you train the cook on how to make it, and then you taste it yourself. Don't cook it yourself and taste it. Have the person who's going to be cooking it most of the time make it. And sometimes they do better than you, right? Like,
100%.
Dude, I love the fact of like giving my sous chef some direction, and then basically they would come up with a dish, and then sometimes it wouldn't be awesome for me, but I'd be like, you know what, let's roll with it, because in turn that boosts their confidence, and it's not about me and what I like. Even though my name's on the menu, it's really about the guest, right? And you want the cook and the sous chef to have that ownership. Like, this is my fucking dish. And I'm sorry, but like 80% of the menu is geared towards the guest. Then you have 15% of the things like you have to have on the menu. But then that 5%, bitch, that's ego driven. That is fucking ego driven dishes, right? And so, it's funny. But
I don't think enough people preach about that. Like, I'm currently, I don't want to bash the current facility I'm working in right now, but like, it should be that way. It should be, let's taste the entire dish of what we made outside, because you're not cooking it, right? And if for some reason it's better, then we give acknowledgement to the person, right? But like, oftentimes, and you know this, It's just like, no, it's my dish. I did this. I created all this. Blah blah. It's all me. That's such a big red flag, man. And it's off putting. You can only take so much, and then you'll get real fed up of it really quick.
You know what? I couldn't agree more. And you can literally talk to all the chefs that I've worked with and that have worked under me, and I was always inspiring, leading by example. And for me, that just has to do with bad leadership. And I'm sorry to say, that's a boss, that's not a leader. And unfortunately, listen. So for anybody that's in a situation like this, like my advice to you is like, don't quit just because of your boss. Don't quit because of your current situation. The thing that I try to do the best is try to, look at everything like a partnership. And unfortunately, listen, Drake said something that fucking changed my life the other day. He said, a mentor once told me, life is like toilet paper. You're either on a roll or you're taking shit from a bunch of assholes. And yo, I swear to God that. And he's like, so here's to being on a roll. And then he just, I think he was accepting an award or something. But I am, you know what? That is such a good comparison. And I always grew up as a cook. And I remember like almost resenting other chefs. Or like a good example, if I was a cook and I was working for a sous chef he was just a piece of shit, just sucked. Especially my time at Cafe Balut. I love that restaurant and I love what I learned. But there was 2 sous chefs that were just absolutely dickheads. Like, and and I remember telling one of the sous chefs, I'm like, listen, how does it feel to, be giving me shit while you're riding an electric bike to work because you have a drinking problem and you're fucking 45 years old. I was like, you're 45 years old and you have a fucking drinking problem. You have to ride a fucking electric, you're fat as shit. Like, this is what I'm thinking in my head. This one, I'm not saying this physically.
I got it.
But I'm in my head. I'm like, you know what? He's just mad because I'm gonna excel more than him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I never let him get to me. I never. You know why? Because guess what? Well, look where I'm at, and he's still doing the same motherfucking shit. Like he's still like. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because like, I try to tell everybody like, listen, this situation to you is not going to matter in 5 years. You got to go onward and upwards, right? It's just like when you find out that the cook next to you is making $3 more an hour, but you're a harder worker.
That's when it stings. That's when it stings, bro.
Dude, that is such a hard conversation to have with a cook that is definitely 100% outperforming like the person that is making more money than him. And I hate to say it, but like, and tell me if you can agree with this. Do your best to if you want to be a chef, if you want to excel to be a sous chef and chef in the game. Don't worry about the hourly amount. It doesn't fucking matter, right? Whether you're making $13 or $19 an hour, the difference is kind of not that big of a deal. It might be a big of a deal for you, but if you look at it from a money perspective, yes, it is a lot. But what you should be focusing on is getting up to that manager level, right?
Yeah.
Get up to that sous chef level because then that salary keeps on increasing over time. As a cook, I don't know what the wages are now, but there's only a certain amount. You have a certain budget for cooks, right? And then that's it. Now, here's the thing: you have to focus on you and what you're doing, and not worry about anybody else. Like that is that is the hardest thing to do because it's like you want to point fingers at everybody else.
Pill, bro.
Yeah,
such a hard pill. It's
dude. I remember specifically when I worked at Spago in Las Vegas, and one of the cooks was making, he had been there for 5+ years, and chef had given him a bump, 25 cents here, 30 cents here, 50 cents here, which I think is a crock of shit. Dude, give the guy $2, man. Give the guy like fucking $2, man.
It's stupid.
So anyway, I had these new cooks start, and one of these cooks started on garde manger, and I was paying him $17.50, to start on garde manger. And this was back in the day.
Nice.
Like now. But the other cook was only making $14.50. Do you know what I'm saying? And he was on saute station. You know what I'm saying? He knew the grill station. He knew all the stations, bro. He literally like a junior sous chef. And then he found out that the new cook that was 20 years old was making $3 more an hour than him, or whatever it was, $2.50. And I remember having this conversation with him. He's like, chef, I don't understand what and honestly, they did suck. I hired them, and it was my fault because they did suck. They just sucked. They didn't work out for them. It was too high paced. the standard was too high for them. Like it didn't work out. But before I got rid of them, like that conversation having with one of my senior cooks was very difficult because I'm like, listen, I know what you're saying. And he's like, well, I don't understand why I'm not worth more, than this cook that just started. And I'm like, and he's like, because is it because of culinary school? Because they went to school? Or, and I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with that. And I'm like, trust me when I tell you, I'm going to do what I can to try to bump you up because you deserve it,
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I had to have the conversation with my higher ups, like, hey, we need to give this guy $18 an hour. Like he's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, but he's only making 14 or he's only making, I forgot what it was, but I'm just using that as a number. And it's funny because they're like, well, no, we can't do that. And I'm like, well, why not? Like, what is the purpose? Like, well, because that's just crazy. Nobody in their right mind gives a $3 raise, $3 or $4 raise. And I'm like, okay, we're talking about like $60 a week. I'm like, I will find that $60 a week, or we could just give him 36 hours a week opposed to 42
instead of 40. Yep.
Yeah. And I was like, would you be okay with that? He still gets his benefits and everything. And he's like, well, I see what you mean. I'm like, well, listen, I will find this cook he is so valuable to me. And then it's funny because when it came time to become a sous chef, he didn't want to become a sous chef. And it's because he didn't like bossing people around. Yeah.
That's
and
rough.
I find that really big in the Latino community where they don't want to be leaders. They just want to work. They don't want anything to do with fucking being a sous chef. And I know he's the best cook I've ever seen though. But it was crazy having that conversation with him. Because it's like it's our job to have those tough conversations, and like it's very difficult to put somebody's worth on a dollar amount. Because if it's up to us, we would pay you whatever we can.
Yeah. And then you got to play with budgets, bro. Corporate was so fucking cutthroat, man. That's why I hated the politics of it. That was the one thing I hated the utmost. Like when I was running the kitchen, I was just like, why are we doing this politics shit? Like just let's reward our like the people that actually show up on time every day, that perform well, and just fucking cut like the other bullshit people that don't just want to be here for a paycheck. You know what I'm saying? They're like, no, we can't do that, et cetera, et cetera. We have a budget. I'm like, oh, you guys, you're just making this so much harder for everybody else in the kitchen, And front of house too, like that's another. Oh, I don't want to get into different conversation in front of house. I don't want to touch that. But I have. So we watched this movie last. Obviously, we're not gonna watch the movie. Brandon, have you heard of this movie called Boiling Point by any chance?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it yet.
Bro, I think so. There's only. I don't think there's any movie in terms of a chef-driven one that reminds me of a kitchen. Like no matter, I've seen them all. Literally seen them all.
Yeah.
This is the first one where I was like, it felt like me. I felt like I was there. I felt like that was literally like what we're going through at the moment. They captured that essence of what we do, and it felt like I really think you'd really like it. And it's shot in one take, so it's just one solo cam following everybody, and it was like they hit every point, literally every point of the kitchen, from front of house to the back. The sous and the exec fucking going back and forth. The owners coming in, fucking having a convo, blah blah blah. The dudes having oh my god, it was so gripping. It felt like an extension of me. I was like, oh my god, thank you. Finally, now we can finally see it.
What is it on? What is it on? Boiling Point. Is it on Netflix?
I did the rent on Amazon. I was on Prime Video, but Boiling Point came out 2021 last year. Wow, that's all I could say. Wow, it will make you feel like you're back in the kitchen, running. I mean, we're in the kitchen, but like.
Oh, okay. Is it?
For people.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, I've heard of this. All right, I'm gonna watch.
Quite
it
amazing.
I'm gonna watch it.
So my old sous chef sent it to me because he's not working in a kitchen anymore, and I was watching. I'm like, Sean, this makes me miss you more because he was it felt like me and him on a kitchen, like putting it together. But like obviously we weren't combative like that.
Why is he out of the kitchen now?
So I mean, he has a kid now, and he just it's not like he wants to retire the whole chef thing, but for him this one works. So he's not marketing, but he's like a product like distributor. He works for a distributor.
Okay. Yeah.
For restaurants. So he's still in a restaurant, but he's no longer managing Or
I agree. You know
running a
what, man?
kitchen.
And I see that more common. And like, I think that is changing about our industry is, the hours worked. Bro, I used to work 7 days a fucking week for no reason.
Yeah, fuck that, yo. Fuck that.
I used to feel like the restaurant was mine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in all honesty, it wasn't. I was just getting taken advantage of. You know what I'm saying? And like that's why now, like I push back, man. I'm not fucking working 90 hours a week. No way, dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
No, no, no.
I audited my week and I'm just like, man, I gained a really good amount of experience. For all my chefs, my young chefs out there, you like this is how we are bred to work all these hours for no reason. But you know what, man? It is not necessary. You need to
Yeah.
put proper procedures in place. That's the bottom line. Like, I mean, right now I work 12-hour days, 12, 14-hour days sometimes, but it's because of COVID and because we have all this bullshit going on. But like, bro, I scrunch all my days together. So I'm able to have the maximum amount of time off. And like, the thing is like now my mindset is like, listen, if it's my own business, then it's different. Like for
Yeah.
real, you can't expect the owner can't expect his employees to work as much as him or want to work as much as him.
Correct.
And, but now, man, it's like, dude, when I'm past like 40 hours, like, dude, 40, I'll go up to 45, 46, but that's it, dude.
That's it. Yeah, hard
That's it,
cut.
bro.
Hard
Sorry.
cut, bro. It has to be that way. It has
Yeah.
to be that way.
Yeah, because in all honesty, when you get your paycheck, this is the document that tells you, okay, you're paid for a 40-hour salary. But the thing is I remember like saying, like, in my mindset was like, oh, your salary, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many. Well, if you don't work this much, that means you don't love what you're doing. And and now I have a completely different mindset on that. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So-
No more. No. We're not doing 80-hour work weeks no more, bro.
No,
No.
What-
Unless
like,
it's our
what-
own.
Yeah. What's
like-
your average work week?
50. I average
Yeah.
48 to 50, which isn't bad.
Yeah,
it's like 5,
yeah.
10-hour days. That's
That's
it.
what I'm saying. Me too. That's look. No, actually, I'm doing like like I wish it was a 10-hour day, but I have to do 12 hours for now. But it's fine because it's like it's totally fine because I would much rather work 3 days, 12 or 3.5 days, at 12-hour shifts, and then have 3.5 days off or 3 days off a week than and struggle a little bit. But it's funny because like I just remember being a manager or a salary and just getting more and more work, right? So the
Yeah,
problem
man.
is more instead of getting another employee or passing or delegating that, I would just take on more and more
Yeah.
and more. And the problem is it would balloon my week out where I remember my wife saying like, I don't understand why you have to go into work today. Like you're scheduled off. What is the reason why you have to go into work? No. And she was fucking right. She's like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, oh, well, I want to get ahead of the week and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, she's like, it's either you have a staffing issue or you have a time management issue. And I'm like, yeah,
Damn.
you fucking right. You're right. You are right. Like if you can't get your
100%.
whole job completed within your time at work, something is wrong.
Yeah.
You either have too much or you're not delegating properly, or it's the workload is too much, or you just suck at time management. And and it's funny
Those
because
hurts. Those words hurt.
but you know what? They made a lot of sense. So, and here's the other thing. It's funny
Correct.
because like my co-pilot, who is also a chef, he's not as like efficient and like organized as me. So like the way I work compared to the way he works is it's just different. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
feel bad for him sometimes because man, dude, it's really like tight. You know what I mean? Like I keep the shit tight. And it makes it kind of difficult, but at the same time, you got to level up.
That's when it's tough. Like if you don't have somebody on the same wave. That's why I'm telling you right now, I miss Sean so much. And I know he watches the pod, but like that homie, we're on the same fucking wavelength, my guy. When I say literally an extension of yourself, it's like a spitting image of you,
Yeah.
He's taller too and much more handsome. I hate him for that. But he just gets it. And he's the same person, And
Yeah.
I can relax. So that's when
Yeah.
it was such a joy working with him. But now he's being a bitch, is not working in the kitchen.
I don't blame him, man. I see a lot of people hop out of being a cook, being a chef, being a sous chef, like, and I gotta be honest, it's kind of the same for me. Like I remember fighting so hard to get to a sous chef level, and then executive chef level, chef de cuisine level, executive sous chef level, and then it's crazy because once I got there, it wasn't what the hype is about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're like, okay,
like-
cool, got
yeah.
the title.
Like seriously, I gotta be honest. Like once I became an executive chef, like I was just like, dude, this sucks. Like I don't like doing this at
Yeah.
all. Like I'd much rather cook. Like I want
Yeah.
to cook. Like this is what I want to do. I love cooking.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I like creating videos for the internet. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like,
Yeah.
dude, it's your own shit. You can do whatever you want.
Because you can
You know?
cook, right? You
Yeah.
feel like you're creating shit instead
Yeah,
of being
yeah, yeah.
pounded with fucking paperwork and can I get my
Yeah.
401k or
Yeah,
can
because
we talk about my taxes? Like, fuck off, man.
yeah,
So
you know what's
crazy.
funny? You know what's funny? It's that is so true. It's like when you become the executive chef, you're not cooking anymore at all. Zero,
Mm-hmm.
zilch, barely. Like when you get to
Mm-hmm.
cook, it's amazing. And the thing is you gotta be the lawyer, the therapist, the business owner. Like, dude, it's ridiculous.
Everything.
And so the biggest problem that I had, Casey, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is like running the whole fucking business, the food and beverage,
Yeah.
and not getting a piece, but being held accountable for
For
the
it.
pe
Yeah.
it just I'm sorry, I
So
can't
fucking
do it.
insane.
I can't do it. That is straight up taking advantage. Like I get it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're new to the position and you need to gain the experience, I totally get that. But man, I mean, how long? Listen, how long until you get a piece of the fucking pie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that shit is just I couldn't fucking do it. Like, and that's where I feel a lot of chefs are being taken advantage of. And it's just sad, but that's gonna start changing. It's like, hey,
Oh, 100%.
like I'll tell you right now, hey, I'll run this restaurant for you, but I want a piece. I want to be part of
Yeah.
it. Like
Mm-hmm.
good or bad, profit or not profit. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what the conversation has to be nowadays. And like I also feel bad, just as bad for the chefs that have no idea about running a business where they have these
Mm-hmm.
investors that are willing to put up the money that don't
Mm-hmm.
understand contracts and don't
Yeah.
understand like and listen, the money's out there. Listen, I've had 4 or 5 restaurant offers and then one just recently. And I'm like, listen, you ain't fucking playing me. Like, oh, it's gonna be your restaurant. Listen, this is how fucking people talk. Oh, it's gonna be your restaurant. You're the chef owner. Don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally yours. And I'm like, listen, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you're still my boss. And that's
Yeah.
not like the partnership has to be good, right? It has to be a hands-off partner, silent investor. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is these a lot of these investors, they have money sitting on the sidelines that they need to
Yeah.
use. They have to put it into an asset or else they got to pay taxes on it, right? Like you need to move like if you
Mm-hmm.
have a couple mils sitting liquid, like you need to put that into real estate. You have to put it into
Or
tech. You
something.
have you have to put it. And I'm not going to lie, the reason why a lot of investors like to invest into restaurants is because it's a long-term investment. You can keep
Yeah.
dumping your money in there. And I think that's really important for chefs to know that, I've seen so many chefs that have been offered a restaurant and then boom, they're like, they're up shit's creek with no paddle because one, the restaurant's not making money. And now you have an investor telling you, oh, put the margarita on the menu or put you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, nah, bro, nah, you ain't gonna tell me how to cook, man. Like, I'm sorry.
That's the
Like,
game we play unless we have our own, and that's the main
yeah,
thing.
like I gotta be
Eventually.
honest. I gotta be honest, Casey. I just recently did a tasting to like stay in them now. I was so frustrated when I fucking left, like, because here's the thing with
It wasn't
politics, like,
good.
my, I, I realized like I did what I was told. You know what I'm saying? But the problem that I had
Oh,
is there
oh,
was
oh.
everybody wasn't on the same. Nobody was. They weren't aligned. You know what I mean? Like one person was telling me to do this, one person was telling me to do this, and then there was a part
Mm-hmm.
during the tasting where I was just really confused because I'm like, dude, I created this menu for like, I should have just
For
cooked
you
what I
guys.
wanted to cook. I should have just cooked what I wanted
Yeah.
to cook. Bottom line. And it's funny because I'm like, that's what you have to deal with. Like, if you want to work in a hotel or if you want to work in a restaurant group, you have to play by their rules. And it's like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Yeah.
it
No
sucks.
bueno. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry. I know your food is bomb, so like I'm just like fuck, I was
Well,
like interested why
well,
they were.
here's the thing. It was really good, and I'm not gonna lie. Like, my kitchen is really nice where I work now. It's beautiful, bro. Like, it's literally top
Mm.
notch. Like, it's exactly how I'd want it. The thing is the tasting that I did was in a kitchen that was like that shit was run down, bro, and it was fucking gross. It was so gross, man. Like literally the oven hadn't been cleaned in years. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
There was so much grease caked up on. Dude, the floors haven't been cleaned in months. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just, and I didn't want to use that as an excuse, but I felt so nasty when I cooked in that kitchen, and I was like, dude, I literally took a half an hour just to clean the surfaces.
Clean.
You know what I'm
Yeah, can I just explain something? Like, I can't stand when it's dirty. Like, I really can't. Like, especially when you're working like that. So that my current owner, and he knows this, my current owner, you know how you flick off the oil into like a bin on the floor, right? To get rid of the oil on the pan when you're sauteing shit. Bro, he just throws it like nonchalant towards the bin. Then there's fucking oil everywhere. And I'm like, can we not do that? And then
wait. So he pours oil onto the bane on the floor, but doesn't like.
So
pour it inside.
let's fucking doing scallops, right? You'll put a little oil and you flip the scallops, you sear it, and then that extra oil, he doesn't want it. So he'll push it down and like flick it towards the bin to get rid of the oil on the floor. Obviously you want it to go into the bin, but he's just going like really fast and just on the area. So it eventually spills onto the floor. At the end of service, that shit is just, it's like a sea of fucking oil. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it.
That's the chef that's doing that? You didn't tell him? You didn't tell him, huh?
No, I there's plenty of conversations. I'm just like, can we switch? Like, can you run front? Like, just get out. I don't want you on that side. You're just making a mess. You're making a mess.
I don't like stepping on anything while I'm cooking or while I'm working. So that's one of my big pet peeves.
Especially oil.
Ooh, yeah, no. I remember working at Alinea. It was so funny because one dude went down to the basement to grab oil, and he didn't realize he was dripping. He grabbed a container that had a tiny hole in the bottom.
No.
Yes. And so so the funny thing is all of a sudden I hear chef out of nowhere, who grabbed oil? And I'm like, oh, well, it wasn't me. And then like, it's like, okay, we know who did it. It was you, and so it was like, we know exactly who did it. But then you lifted up so chef came over and lifted up the oil bin off the station, and like there was a puddle on the bottom because there was a little tiny hole, and he spilled maybe like 21 drops from the oil bin all the way upstairs.
Still enough though.
We had to scrub the whole fucking stairs, the whole thing.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would tell you fucking
instead of like, okay, hey man, go clean this shit up. Like, no, it was like, okay, come on, you guys, you don't want to work clean and organized? Boom. Like, so I'm like sitting there with the scrub brush. I'm scrubbing the stair. I'm scrubbing like 20 years of grit off the stairs. Like but I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I'm like, hey, stop complaining. Let's just do it and we move on. It's fine.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord Jesus. I was a sous chef before I went to Alinea. So I wasn't emotional. Do you know what I'm saying? I think a lot of cooks are so emotional, and it's like, dude, it doesn't matter. Just do it. Just do whatever the fuck. Let him ride his high horse. It's fine. But I remember we cleaned all this shit off the steps. I'm wiping it down, and then it's like, I remember like ever since that day, I've always had that like kind of nitpicking thing. If somebody spilled oil on the floor, or like, you know what actually is my biggest pet peeve is when somebody spills oil, and instead of cleaning it up right then and there, they pour salt all over it.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God, my old company, there were these 3 cooks. They're on a fryer station because we do a lot of fried fish and shit. And they're like, oh, it's fine, pour salt. I'm like, I swear to God, if I catch you doing that, I will send you guys home. I don't care how busy it is. I will do this myself. Do not fucking do that. Do not, for the life of you, don't do that, please.
Dude, I fucking hate that. I remember somebody forgot to close the fryer at work. Somebody forgot to close the fryer. They pour oil into it. It starts coming out the bottom, right?
Oh,
and
man.
Immediately,
I've done that,
he closes the thing, and then he pours salt all over the fucking thing, right? And I'm like, why did you do? I'm like, listen, chef, come on, let me show you. Just clean the shit up properly. Like, why did you do that? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the thing is you spend more time trying to get the salt off the floor than the original. Like, listen, for everybody that's out there, this is the proper way to clean up an oil spill. Okay, paper towels or towels. You get all of the oil off. Then you go grab a scrub bucket with soap and water. You scrub the oil with the soap and water. Dawn preferably is the best. Then from there you re-wipe it up and then put it, then go about your day, air dry and move on. Make sure you get all the oil, and that's it. Do not put a half a box of salt on there. That is fucking counterintuitive. You know what I'm saying?
So
like,
stupid.
Dude, yeah, I hate that, man. Because salt doesn't really go away unless you add water. Like, you're just adding an extra layer. But I just, dude, that'll put me away. Anyway, Casey, I know we gotta wrap it up. We gotta wrap it up here.
Yeah, we do.
But
that's
what
it.
I realized?
That's all.
The lighting looked pretty good in mine when the sun came out in those windows. So it looks pretty
It's
good.
very nice.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
I did that on purpose.
I'm trying to keep it dark profile here.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm not gonna lie. The automatic settings on the ZVE10 are actually pretty. It's a point and shoot camera.
They're phenomenal.
And
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I am not gonna lie. I am so against auto, but I will argue that I tested it. So I went straight from my house, which is a setting, straight to sunlight, and I'm watching the aperture change and the shutter change, and I'm watching the ISO change, and I'm like, wow, okay. So I went straight. So if I were to do that with my A7 III, I would have to change all the settings. If I were to go outside, dog, I have to close the lens to like fucking 5.6. You know what I'm saying? With the ZV-A10, I will argue that the automatic settings are pretty legit for shooting point. So
I 100%. I mean, I only have the A6000. It's on auto white balance and auto.
I have the A6000 too. I like that camera. I love that camera. It takes great photos.
I love it. Love it. I mean, I'm just using it as a streaming camera for now, but eventually. But that is the end of our podcast. Nothing too crazy. Any other controversial stuff you guys want us to cover? 100%, like medium rare chicken. Let's go for it. Burnt stuff. I'm here for it. Let's fight. Let's go right into it. I'm more than happy to explain why that process is like that. But yeah, man. Other than that, though, we out.